Hey, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Halo Spades, and I'm here to bring you a primer for your pre-release. So this video here is for all you newer folks that are not familiar with the limited format. So this video will give you details on how to build your deck, how to evaluate cards, and most importantly, how to be efficient with your time so you can maximize your chances of winning. So let's get into the video without further ado. Covering pre-release situations, so limited. All right, so I'm going to show you my methods of what I do to be efficient and save time. For one, I actually have a kit with pre-sleeved lands and pre-sleeved, just pre-sleeved lands and a bunch of empty sleeves. So that way when I draft, I could just don't have to get up to go to the land station. Not that I'm being lazy, I'm just being efficient so I can goldfish. All right, you may have heard the term goldfish and you may have not. So I'm here to help you newer players understand what goldfishing is. Okay, so after you have assembled your deck, what goldfishing is you play a few turns by yourself, obviously not with anyone else. And this is for you to see how your deck will operate within the first 3 to 5 turns. You can go as long as you like. That's why it's important to be efficient. That's why I teach this in this video, so that you can have more time to see how your deck will operate. So now you know what goldfishing is. And back to the video. My deck and make sure I'll be efficient and get a couple of tests in. But let's go ahead and I'll cover that a little bit more in the video. But let's go ahead and get into this part right here. And I will show you how we do things. All right, so here's what you get inside of a pre-release kit for those that are new. You get a spin down to help keep track of your life total. You get 6 packs. And you get a promo, which I'm not going to reveal my promo because I like to see, my way of doing things is I like to save it for last. You get 6 packs of the current set. And you are to build a 40 card deck on the spot with what you have in your card pool. Now, here's what I do to help me save time. For one, here's what I do recommend. If you can go to websites like Mythic Spoiler or any other places that have spoilers of the new set, I do recommend taking time to brush up and seeing what cards you may find in your pool. But I also prefer to just go by what you actually have. So if you don't have time to really read up on the cards, then the best thing to do is just start separating them by the color pie. Oh, wow. That's never seen that before. All right. Now that we've opened up all of our packs, we've already separated our colors. we go ahead and take a look and see what we get. So, what I learned early on in my Magic playing days is that sometimes you get rares that you can't really build around. However, in this case, we do have build around. We have this, we have this, we have this can go in any deck. This is questionable, but it's still pretty good. So all these rares are playable, but the only issue you may run into is that the mana base will not be consistent. However, that's where you decide, okay, let's see what I have in my pool. And so here is an anagram that I will teach you. You may have heard me mention this once or twice before in any of my other videos, that we use the term bread. Now that is the most basic of terms to use. There are more advanced terms to use and ways to evaluate deck building on the spot. But for now, we're just going to focus on the very basics and helping you become more efficient. So what we're going to look for is bombs. So cards that are left unchecked, that will be a problem. That's a pseudo bomb because it gives you evasion, flying and haste, and it gives you a creature. So you get a 4/4 flying and haste, and you could always equip it later if you need to. This, surprisingly, although it has text that says you lose the game when it has no oil counters on it, this is a house. For 4 mana, 6/6 flying. And then with the mechanics in this set, you can actually keep adding oil counters so you never lose oil counters until this is removed. This is helpful for getting through your deck quicker. This is decent for card draw, but again, this isn't a bomb, but this is considered a bomb. That would be considered a bomb. This is considered a bomb. This most certainly is considered a bomb. Flying 3/5. If you would proliferate twice instead. Now, you compare those two together. See, proliferate, and then you just want to see if you have enough, and then you just want to see what you have enough of. So then you start off with the first one. And then here's where I start separating playables and unplayables. This seems playable if you are going for a toxic approach. So that's a maybe. This is definitely playable. Double Strike is a very good feature. Toxic 1. Also good for this set because poison is pretty good mechanic, so that's playable. Indoctrination Attendant. When it enters the battlefield, you may return another permanent you control to its owner's hand. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature token with Toxic 1, and this creature can't block. This is pretty decent for anything that you might have for ETBs, and the fact that it's vanilla text passes. So it's for 4 mana. 3 + 4 is 7, and 7 divided by 4 usually nets that this is a vanilla card. That's just without reading any of this extra stuff. This other stuff is good, which this card right here could go paired off with this one, because when it enters the battlefield, ETB, remember, another target creature you control with Toxic gets +1/+1 and gains flying until end of turn. On the stats alone, this is a good card because it's flying, evasion. This one is also a playable card. The reason why I say that is because you have a 3/3 of flying, evasion again, bombs, removal, evasion, aggro, and duds/dudes is what bread stands for. So this has evasion. This is removal. So if you don't get a bomb, but in this case we have bombs. Look at this. Removal again. This is good because we have mechanic that deals with equipment, and we have 2 pieces of equipment here. So far, white is looking very positive. We don't know what our second color is, if we even need a second color, but that's a playable card, mainly because it protects itself. 3 mana, 3/2, and as long as it's equipped, it becomes a 4/3, on top of whatever benefits you get. This seems kind of slow. And it's requiring for you to be into one archetype, which is artifacts. So that's, I'm going to say it's a no, unless you have enough artifacts to justify playing it. It's kind of a no. And then this is pretty good for combat tricks, because this format, limited, is more of the creature-based combat versus alternate win con craziness. Now, obviously, there's other alternate win cons you can win. This is good, a 2/2 for 2, toxic 1. As long as it's your turn, it has first strike. And we have another one. So right now, our card pool in white is very strong. So we have a decent amount. Now, we go into blue. This is not good for limited. It's not. This is not a slow format, so that's not playable. So we've got our playables and unplayables. Meld Web Strider. It has vigilance. It's a 5/5 for 5 vehicle. Enters the battlefield with an oil counter on it. Remove an oil counter from Meld Web Strider. Becomes an artifact creature until end of turn, or you can crew 3 it. So, again, in the right type of deck, this is good. But even without the right type of deck, this is actually a playable card. When Moldweb Curator enters the battlefield, put up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. This is going to be a maybe, and the reason why I say maybe, because we do have that 1 ETB effect, but I don't want to build too exclusively to that. This is another decent card. It is an artifact creature. Keep that in mind. Artifact creature, and it has tempo, so it stops your opponent from attacking you if they have a big creature. So that is playable. Again, this is good if you are going to be doing proliferate, but we are going to be aiming to try to do proliferate, which is right here. So we are going to put that in, and also it's card draw, and it's very important in this. This is a 1/1. This is a 1/1 flying and vigilance, and when it dies, you get an effect out of it. So very playable, and also artifact. So it is starting to make the unplayable card look a little bit more playable. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil counter on Ichor Synthesizer. As long as it has 4 or more oil counters on it, it gets +2/+0 and can't be blocked. Stats alone, vanilla test, it passes. On the other thing, you're not really running too many, but it's still playable if you don't have enough bodies, if you want to be in these colors. The minimum, you want to have 14 to 16 creatures. This is also a removal, a form of removal. So you enchant a creature, it enters, tap enchanted creature, then proliferate. An enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller untap step. So you remove one of their best creatures, which pertains to the R in bread, removal. This could be good in a mill-specific strategy, and we don't know if we have enough of that. So this is not playable at the current time. Because milling and limited is a very good way of winning too. Like I said, you need to have multiple sources of milling because it's a smaller card pool, smaller deck. We have this card right here that when it enters the battlefield, again, another ETB effect, you may tap it if you do proliferate, which we are looking, yes. So this is technically a 1 mana draw 2 cards. If you are in Toxic and you can do Toxic, then yes, this is something you play. So this is going to go in the questionable. This is a land slot, so I would play this because it's a land that later on, yes, it comes in tapped, but later on down the road, if you need to dig something out of your, out of your deck, you can. And we have another one of these proliferate tappers. So right now, white and blue are looking like our best colors. Bone Picker Scourge. Flying. As long as an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, it has Death Touch and Lifelink. already, just the stats alone, 2, so 4 divided by 3. It's not the greatest, so it's 1, but it's vanilla. You have flying, and then on top of that, if you do get the added bonus, it's actually very helpful. Sacrifice another artifact or creature. Cutthroat Centurion gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate only once each turn. This is pretty decent. Oh, we have an upside down card. This is more for sideboard. So we put that here for sideboard. This is what you call removal, so we play that. This is a form of evasion. We have Menace, Toxic 2, which again, some cards require Toxic. This is going to be a good card for Commander and or Limited. You draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Each opponent gets a poison counter. So card draw and contributes to what you're trying to do in your deck. And this is whenever this dies, create, so this is always a playable card. Feed the Infection. You draw 3 cards and you lose 3 life. Each opponent who has 3 or more poison counters lose 3 life. So again, card draw, pretty decent. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn, then Proliferate. Now this is good for like combat damage, surprises. So after you go into combat, then you play this and then Proliferate. You could possibly kill off one of their creatures. Or it's just a very handy card, so yes, play it. This is a 5-drop for 4/4 and a Toxic 2, which is decent thus far. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. So yes, play it because it has recursion. It brings back creatures that you may have lost early on. So play it, playable. You don't want too many of these type of effects now. At some point, this is just because sideboard. If you got a slower matchup, then you bring it in. But good. 2 mana, 1/1 flying, Toxic 1, evasion. And then Sheoldred's Edict. Choose 1. It's modal, so it's always good. Each opponent sacrifices a planeswalker, which there aren't too many in this set that are in limited that are really overpowered, but still good. Gets around hexproof for Kaya. Each opponent sacrifices a creature token. If they have a really nasty creature token that's only one of and not multiples of, you have an option. Or each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. Also, again, deals with their problem. It's not very targeted, so it is playable, but it could be cut if it needs to be cut. And then this is Anoint with Affliction. 1 in a swamp. Instant. Exile target creature card if it has mana value 3 or less. Which is very good removal, and it's not coming back, no recursion. And if you have Corrupted, which looks like we can build a Corrupted deck, exile that creature instead if its controller has 3 or more poison counters. So at this point, it exiles any creature. So that's something that is definitely playable. And we don't need to explain that one again. So right now, our 3 colors initially are looking very strong. Nahiri Sacrifice. The initial cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact creature with mana value X. Nahiri Sacrifice deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures. So this is a pseudo board wipe. So it's maybe, yeah, no, these are playable. Play them. This is decent for card draw. Free from Flesh. Also good because of the oil counters. Keep in mind we also have this card over here. Choose 1 or both. So this is a 5 mana. Deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Deals 5 for 5, which you get your investment back for the most part, or you destroy target equipment, or you could do both. So it is playable because it has modal. If it only had 1 mode, I would say don't play it. Use it in your sideboard. Forgehammer Centurion. 2 and a red. 2 and a mountain. Whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put an oil counter on Forgehammer Centurion. Whenever Forge Hammer Centurion attacks, you may remove 2 oil counters from it. When you do, target creature can't block this turn. Again, if we are doing proliferate slash and or oil counters, pretty good way to go. Volt Charge deals 3 damage to any target. Proliferate. So it's a lightning bolt for 3 mana with proliferate, which again will come in handy. Hex Gold Slash. Hex Gold Slash deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature has toxic, it deals 4 damage to that creature instead. 1 mana, deal 2, which is not bad, with a potential upside for a creature with the word toxic on it. We just went over this card. When this enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red Phyrexian Goblin creature token, also playable. Why? Haste, 4 mana, 3/3, and it creates another body, so it creates 4 power between 2 bodies. You don't want to focus too much, but if you have to cut something, you can cut that. So right now, our red pool looks very good. All right, now we have Contagious Vorak. 2 in a forest. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a land card from among them. Put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you didn't put a card in your hand this way, proliferate. Seems reasonable. 3/3 for 3 already passes vanilla. And then the ETB effects, which we could always bounce it with other colors. So, and we have Copper Longlegs. So if you don't have enough flying, well, this is a good option to flying. And you could sacrifice it and you could proliferate. So 1/3 playable. Canker Bloom. 1 and a forest. Sacrifice it. Pay 1, choose 1, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or proliferate. And it's a 3/2 for 2, which already exceeds the vanilla test. So yes, play it. And you're gonna find something you can remove. Play it if you are in those colors. A 3 mana 2/2 with vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains vigilance until end of turn. Proliferate. Very important. Playable. 4 mana, 4/4. Vanilla test, pass. Toxic 3, double pass. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 and a forest. If you do, proliferate. So for 6 mana, you can proliferate and have a 4/4. Or just for 4 mana, at face value, you already have a good, 4/4. Playable. This is Rustvine Cultivator. It's a 1 mana, 1/2 with tap it, put an oil counter on it, or remove an oil counter from it, untap target land. Now this is a bit iffy, so this is going to go into the maybe play it, because if you don't have a certain land that helps you, that you need to untap, that's helpful for your advancing you to win, then chances are it's just a blocker that adds oil. And if you have a way to move oil around, then yes, you should play it. But I don't think there's that many cards that move oil counters. Speaking of oil counters, now we're at Lattice Blade Mantis. 3 in a forest, and when it enters the battlefield with 2 oil counters on it, whenever it attacks, you may remove an oil counter from it. If you do, untap it. It gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and it's a 4/3. Already, we're on a good path, so it's playable. A 7 mana, and you're probably saying, oh my god, 7 mana, that's ridiculous. It's not hard to get there in limited. It's definitely, you want to run at least one of these in your deck, a 7 cost creature. It's a Toxic 6, already good. 6/7, so that's 13 divided by 7. It's looking good, and it can be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So if they have a smaller creature on their side, you can easily have this come in and wreck face. So yes. We have Plague Nurse, 3 and a forest. Toxic 2. Each other creature you control with Toxic 1 gains Toxic 1 until end of turn. Activate only once each turn. And then it's a 3/4. I don't understand how this works. I think this just on vanilla stats is good and the Toxic 2, but this other ability is still rather confusing. I don't know why you would give a creature you already have Toxic, unless you're just playing with your opponent. I don't know. Maybe you could tell me in the comments down below how this has helped you. If you played this and you're watching this and you're not a newer player. So please let me know. We have Maze's Mantle. 2 in a forest, flash, enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, if enchanted creature has Toxic, That creature gains hexproof until end of turn. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. Yes, play it. Protect your best creature. A Tyrannix Atrocity, 3 and 2 forest in the forest. Haste, 4/4, already decent stats, and then Toxic 3. So yes, play it. So we have lots of playables. It looks like when Oil Gorger Troll enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. Then if you control a permanent with an oil counter on it, draw a card. Already good. It keeps you alive, a decent body. And if you have an oil counter, which these colors looks like you're aiming for oil, playable. And then for Mirrodin, 6 mana, create a 2/2, and it gets +4/+4 and has trample, and equip is 7. It's just a very expensive. These for Mirrodins are mostly because it gives you a body and it's decent and attaches itself. But for re-equipping them, they're usually not optional, or they're not optimal, excuse me, not optional. But it's still good. I would still play it. And then we have a repeat. And then we have another repeat, which you decide if you're going to cut it or not. So these are our maybes. These are just sideboard. Now we go into multicolored and colorless. This is decent, because if you're doing oil counters, it will come in handy. Prosthetic Injector. It's a 1 mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +0/+2 and has Toxic 1, which is already a great value, and it's 1 to equip it. Bladehold War Whip. For Mirrodin, obviously creates a rebel for you. Equip abilities you activate of other equipment costs 1 less to activate. Already looking good. Equipped creature has double strike. Yeah, we are looking hot. Mere Custodian enters the battlefield. Scry 2. Then each opponent may scry 1. It's a 2/3 which helps you manipulate the top of your deck, which is very crucial. If you have no other creatures to play, play it. If not, there's always something better you can put. But in this moment, this is a little too slow. But if you don't have enough, this is a very good bomb pack. Honestly, this pre-release kit was actually very, very fortunate that we had all the stuff that we have. So we don't necessarily need to play this. But if you don't get a good, decent pool, so you can have many avenues to take, play this so you can draw a card. Or if you need to fix your mana. So that's a playable under certain conditions. This enters the battlefield with 3 oil counters on it. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, you may remove an oil counter from Atrax's Skitterfang. When you do, target creature you control gains your choice of flying, vigilance, death touch, or lifelink until end of turn. Yes, this is you will play this. Cephalopod Sentry, artifact creature, again very important. Flying. Cephalopod Sentry's power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. Also crucial, so yes, play it. We have enough support for it. Sacrifice Basilica Skull Bomb, draw a card, or 2 and a white. Sacrifice it. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains flying until end of turn. Draw a card. Activate only as a sorcery. Very playable if you are limited. Playable if you're in multiple colors. And then this is also playable. I think these are all playable. And then if you need mana fixing, playable. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you which direction to go, but the key is you decide what direction you want to go. In this situation, there's lots of bombs. This has a benefit of having blue creatures. Other blue creatures you control have whenever this creature becomes tapped, draw a card and discard a card. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1, which again, we have incentive to want to play artifacts. But I don't know which route I would take. Honestly, I would probably lean more towards the Esper colors. Mostly because of I'll do that. and then I would look for as much proliferate as possible. That would just be me doing that. Going 3 colors, I've done that before. Or you could even go white to red equipments. The reason why I say white red, you can go this route, this route. We got that route, we got that route. We move oil counters around, so you can go easily red, white. You can go red, green, oil. You can go green, black. Like there's so many different options, but because of the cards that we got, our best bet is Esper because of the proliferate mechanic, and we have these two together hand in hand, and this thing is more than likely going to, and then whenever a creature opponent control dies, its controller loses 2 life. This card for limited is underappreciated, and of course maybe in constructed in the right deck this would be good, but for the most part you have a good pool here to build. So again, you can go any direction you like, but it looks to me as if blue, black, white, Esper is looking like the route to take. And we have mana fixing. We have mana fixing. If need be, we have mana fixing. So we are in a good spot to do 3 colors. But I would do 2 colors. Something with, personally, with this one and that, or you can go red and black. Like this is a very rare situation where you get so many avenues to play. You know, you could even do this to throw in with your, which I would do in an Esper colored deck. 1, 2, 3. So it would look like it's mostly black, blue with a white splash. Because if you notice, the cards that we would play don't have, there's not very many mana intense symbols except for this one, which is a one of that we have, which is fine. So thank you for coming to join me on how to become an efficient limited player. But actually, let me show you what I meant for being prepared for time. So here is a way to be efficient with time in your limited and or pre-release. For starters, I have 10 of each mana, because you're not going to be building monocolored unless there's a set that comes that absolutely requires you to play monocolored, and it happens from time to time, which I can't prepare for everything, unfortunately. But as you see, I have 10 of each land, pre-sleeved. And then I have sleeves to put my cards that I drafted in. I also have extras. And I just want to show you an example of what one of my decks that I built for pre-release. There's that house again, and people, it was hard to deal with because removal is very light in this set. But you'll see why I went in these colors. And it's almost looking as if I like Esper. I do not. Let me tell you now, I'm super hateful of blue. But lately I've been playing it a little bit more because it has a lot of evasion. It has the proliferate mechanic. It has what I was looking for. But here's one of the reasons why I had a lot of removal in all 3 of these colors. And this was also good because I could make a copy of another creature, probably, another creature. So this is a sample of what I played. They're in pre-release. But this is a way to be efficient. I have a kit ready to go. And I have sleeves, and I have extra sleeves over here. And in my kit, I have everything I need. And you don't have to buy this to, be an efficient player. You could just have something where you have all your cards. I have my dice. So if I only needed, I'm only going to need this in a playmat. And I'm very effective. And I save time, giving me more time to devote to building my decks. But that's all. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. Do stay tuned because I will be doing more videos of educational purposes like this. How to become a better Magic player. Things like that. So Thank you again. If you have not had a chance, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It is the free way to support the channel, and it doesn't cost you a thing to do that. And you're helping me grow so I can continue to doing giveaways, which I do on TikTok. So make sure you check me out on TikTok and all the other platforms and stuff like that. So stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself, and peace.